One of the other concerns that seem to be prevalent is the India versus China question. Tesla recently was supposed to have visited, Elon Musk was supposed to have visited India. There was, a red carpet that was being prepared to welcome him. He missed India, but he's gone to China. And that leads me to a question about whether you think that India still has a lot of work to do, and despite the optimistic outlook, uh, companies, investors, institutional investors, and even foreign direct investment still focuses on China versus India.
The most important thing for India now is to reduce the bureaucracy involved in putting money into the country. I think this is a big, big barrier for many investors, not only equity investors, but also direct investors. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of barriers to entry and exit, by the way, because at the end of the day, when someone puts money into the country, you've got to give them a path to exit as well. So I think this is something that Modi has to work on. Of course, he's got a lot of barriers because you have all these individual states in India that have their own barriers. So he's got to work on that. And I think he's setting some good examples in his home state. But at the end of the day, this is the biggest challenge facing India today. Now, of course, as you know, many of the manufacturers in China are moving to India because they have to diversify their supply chain. They realize that it's very risky to be so dependent upon China. So they definitely want to be in India, but there are lots of barriers for them to do that. I would not count out China entirely. China is continuing to be strong, a very strong manufacturer. But at the end of the day, China will have to take over some of the manufacturing from China, and both countries will probably continue to do well. But I think India will do better, particularly in taking over some of this manufacturing, if, and that's a big if the bureaucracy is overcome.
Mark, is that what is perhaps the reason that despite a pretty generous incentive scheme that has been announced for semiconductor manufacturers, we haven't still seen a major semiconductor investment in India? Now, the government of India wants to tweak that scheme. We'll have to wait for the results of the elections. But is that also one of the reasons that we haven't seen too much success as far as the semiconductor plan in India is concerned?
I think many of these manufacturers who are thinking about India are waiting for the election results. That's number one. So after the election, you'll see them moving. But you must remember that you're talking about a billion, not millions, but billion of dollar investment. Such investments require a lot of time, a lot of planning. But there's no question that India will become a major semiconductor manufacturing center in the future. The speed at which this takes place will depend, again, on the bureaucratic hurdles that companies have going forward. But at the end of the day, India will definitely be a big manufacturer, not only of semiconductors, but all kinds of other uh, electronics hardware going forward.